Hello everyone, welcome back to Porkies Collectibles. Today we have a slightly different video for you. Today we're going to showcase a project that we were working on, and throughout the video you'll see the process that we went through to make this. We're going to display this Legendary Collections graded set from PSA. They are sequential number, all 110 reverse holographics from the Legendary Collection sets. Let me move out of the way really quick, show you what I'm talking about. There you go. You can see them all displayed there, and hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and as always, let's go and enjoy the video. Okay, so we have this plywood that we purchased from Home Depot that was $18.99. It is 1/8 thickness and a standard 4x8 feet. Next, we have this plexiglass that we also purchased from Home Depot that costs around $166. It is a 1/4 inch thickness, and 36 by 72 inch is the size of it. Cloudy on both sides since the protective film is still there. Next, we're measuring the size of the plexiglass to see how many PSA graded cards we can fit vertically and horizontally. First, we're going to lay them across to figure it out for horizontal length. After measuring it, we put them side by side, and it came out to be 20 cards that we can fit side by side horizontally. As you can see, we have set them all down, and these are all the graded cards that fit side to side after measuring it. We use a Sharpie to measure the plexiglass, so we know where to cut the plexiglass, so the wood would fit perfectly when we're doing the framing. Now we're going to put the PSA graded cards down vertically to see how many PSA cards we can fit. After measuring it, we realize that we can fit 6 PSA graded cards. Now I'm just going to measure the top and bottom to see where I need to cut the plexiglass, so then there's no extra on the bottom. Measuring some more, marking some more of the Sharpie. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and start scoring the plexiglass to start cutting the plexiglass. We use this utility knife to slowly go over the wood over and over slowly to make sure that you don't crack the glass. Also makes it so it's easier for me to cut it later on. Here's Porky looking at the progress, not very impressed. He's going to go underneath the couch right here and leave us. Okay, next I use the saw to also score it some more so it's easier to cut. Tried various methods. It didn't seem to really work out. I'm doing this late at night, so I didn't really want to use any power tools. Realistically, you should either use a circular saw or you have a plastic score that works too. After I scored it, I used my body weight and then I snapped it off right here, as you can see. And that's actually a pretty good break. And just making sure that it's clean, cut properly, just using the utility knife once again to make sure it's cut. Another note is if you're using the Dremel, to wear a mask because the plastic smell is pretty strong. At the same time, using the Dremel was not very efficient. You got to be careful because if you cut it too fast or use it too hard, it actually starts melting the plastic. So you got to be very careful when doing that. At this point, we're going to vacuum all the excess debris from the plywood as well as the plexiglass. At this point, you see me trying to break it with my hand, the sides, which there's not very much leverage as the first time, so it was very difficult to do. Like I said, use a circular saw. I got creative here and started using a wrench, which definitely helped a lot more, and it was easier to break. Just a standard, adjustable wrench. If you wanted to do this method, I don't really recommend it. Probably do this on a table, clamp it down, and then use a circular saw or a specialty tool, as well as a plastic cutter would do a lot better for this situation. But being at home late at night, I don't want to wake up my next door grandma, so this was probably the only method I could really do, and also kind of tired. Didn't think it through properly, so probably do a lot better job next time. But right here, I'm about to finish snapping the sides. Perfect. That is done. Gonna use the utility knife one more time to just cut off the plastic that's on top of the plexiglass. Okay, it's me bent over, cutting the plexiglass, making sure that there's no excess. Later on, I do recommend that if you do this, also to sand down the excess. Sometimes there's a little piece that I didn't finish breaking. Just be very careful when you're breaking things, especially when you're drilling or cutting into the plexiglass. Just because you can crack it, and once it cracks, you can't go back. You have to buy a new piece. So just be very careful when doing that. Right here, you see me using the Dremel to sand down the edges a little more. Now, that's just a rough sanding. If you want to get more fine, you can use other sanders. At this point, I'm going to use the Sharpie to measure the plywood. Just very simple. I'm right now measuring the exterior, and then I'm going to use this piece of wood to cut alongside it to get a better cut. Now, obviously, this would be a lot easier if you're using a bandsaw or a table saw, actually, or a circular saw. But like I said, at night, I don't want to wake up my neighbors by using a circular saw. If you work construction, you know how loud it can get. So I'm actually just using this hand saw right here. Vacuum up the excess, just me speeding through it, making sure that everything's done properly. Don't want to step on any pieces, plexiglass. Finally, I'm going to trim the border wood, the wood that I'm using as the border for the framing. Here, I'm just placing it alongside of it to make sure they all fit properly, so then the cards don't fall out. Now, I also want to mention that I measured it so that piece of wood that I'm using as the border is also a 1/4 inch, which is the same size as the PSA graded cards. PSA graded cards are pretty close to a 1/4 inch. So this way, when you put them in there, it's the perfect size. So when the plexiglass is put on top of the whole framing, it will keep the PSA grade card snug. At this point, I'm going to use some glue. This kind of glue is going to take a while for it to get strong and be able to be adhesive to the back of the plywood. Took about 24 hours, I believe, just to be safe. In hindsight, I should have put the pieces with the sticker on the back side, because it does leave a mark on it. On this side, I did it correctly. I turn it over, place it down. Just make sure you do it well. I didn't really have any weights, so I just took some standard, workout weights and just put alongside it to make sure it's nice and snug and doesn't move. I just kind of did that all alongside. And then 24 hours later. All right, at this point, we're drilling the holes. There's Porky sitting in his king tower, not looking impressed. And I'm just drilling into the plexiglass to mark where I'm going to put each of the bolts in. Oh, sorry, not bolts, screws in. So you see me drilling right now. I'm trying to be very careful when drilling, just because if you drill too fast, you can crack the plexiglass. If you drill too fast, you can actually burn the plexiglass, leaving, black marks or the smell. So just be very careful. Do it very slowly. Just use the drilling. Don't use the weight of the drill or anything. Just be very careful. Okay, at this point, I'm going to be putting the PSA graded cards side by side. Obviously, I'm going to do all the lower numbers on the bottom, starting with 110. Okay, so we have put down the PSA graded cards. Now we're just measuring the sides. So there ended up being some extra room because they can fit 120 cards, but we only have 110 cards in the set. So I'm going to put the set symbol on one side and then the Pokemon symbol on the other side. At this point, I'm measuring this piece of paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. This is going to be used for the set symbol, because for the legendary collections, there is a blue metallic background. So you see me cutting it out and placing it in there to make sure it fits. It probably was the best choice to center the top PSA grade credit cards, just to make it so it was more even on both sides. I'm using a very expensive cup. Just kidding, it's not, to make the circle for the symbol for legendary collections. At this point, you're just going to see me cutting out the shapes. So I'm not going to talk very much. I'm just going to let you go just watch me do this. You can get this at Sur La Table for $349.99 to make circles. At this point, we're using some glue to just make sure that we can glue the circles to each other to make the symbol. All right, at this point, we're going to take these letters that we got from Hobby Lobby for the set symbol letters for the legendary collections. We cut them all out and we laid them out to make sure they can fit on the actual display. This was actually more challenging than I thought it would be, just because the legendary part of legendary collection is curved, and could have done a little bit better job next time. I would have done it better. At this point, I'm just calculating to figure out exactly what size and letters we can use, because I did buy multiple just because I wasn't sure what size would actually fit on the set symbol itself. So this is just us going through them, just to make sure they all fit. After trying the larger symbols, that didn't letters, it didn't work, so we went with this smaller stickers. These are stickers. It made my life a lot easier while trying doing this. So you can see me actually place it onto the overall product here. Doing it as carefully as I can, but should have made it a little bit more curved, like I said earlier. But once you put it down, there's no going back. But I was happy with the overall product. Okay, there it is. That's the set symbol. Making final adjustments to it to make sure that everything fits properly. Now, the thing was, it wasn't a 1/4 inch, so I did have to put some cardboard and some pieces of paper to make sure that it would fit snugly. And another thing was, because I used those glue sticks, I was afraid that it might come apart. So I wanted to make sure that there was enough padding, so when I put the plexiglass down, it would actually hold the symbol in place so it wouldn't move, and also help compress it to make sure the glue would stay. So at this point, you're just seeing me cut out more of it to pad it to make it thicker. I'm using these tape to make sure that I can stick all of them to each other to make the extra padding. Reason why I had to cut those pieces is because I think it was 15.5 inches long, and even with these special pieces of paper, craft paper, it was still not long enough. I think it came out to like 13 inches or something. I think regular pieces of paper are 8 by 11. So that's why I had to put this extra piece down. All right, just cutting up some cardboard to make sure we can do the padding, doing final touches. All right, we're placing it down, final touches. This was actually very nerve-wracking when I was doing it, because if I messed up, then it was gonna look really weird. Which, as you can tell, there's a slight misalignment, so I did have to trim it a little. All right, finally, we're gonna slide it into the slot to make the symbol. Actually turned out better than I thought it would, so it was a very good surprise. Finally, doing the same thing for the other side for the Pokemon symbol. The Pokemon symbol was a little bit easier since it's just on standard paper. Go ahead and place that on top carefully as possible. There is a minor tiny gap on the right hand side, but try my best. Finally, we set the plexiglass right on top. Try not to scratch anything, especially the cards. There is the plexiglass on top. Next, remove the protective film from the plexiglass. I'm using these screws. Now, these screws had to be half an inch, actually a little bit more than half an inch, 5/8 inch, just because the plexiglass is half an inch and the wood is half an inch. And the backboard is also 1/8. That's a mouthful, but I had to say it. Okay, here's the final product. I'm gonna be putting it onto the wall. It's pretty heavy. Also, I didn't want it falling on the cards that were on the table, so I was trying to be as careful as possible. Putting it above the table. I wanted to hang it up a little higher, but I figured it'd be a nice background on top of the table for future videos, so I decided to just put it right there. At this point, we're going to be drilling into the wall so that we can put the drywall anchors. I made sure to drill into the wall so that with the right drill bit to fit the drywall anchors. Just make sure when you buy it from, I bought it from Home Depot, it came with the drill bit so that you can have the exact size. Those are the holes right there, and I'm actually putting the drywall anchors right now, just hammering them in slowly so make sure you don't damage the walls. Okay, finally, we're going to drill into the wall with the screws just to make sure it's secure. Putting the final screws there to make sure it's nice and tight. Strong. Everyone looks nice and strong. Just gonna sand that off a little bit later. All right, and finally for the big reveal. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any questions, please comment down below. As always, this is Porkies Collectibles. See you guys all next time.